What happens when a clueless boss fires the only people keeping things running? When I started working in the accounting department of a small business, things actually ran pretty smoothly. My boss, Gary, was a great manager, the kind of guy who trusted you to do your job and gave you room to get things done your own way. Everyone respected him, and we all worked well together. Sure, we were understaffed and sometimes had to wear multiple hats, but we made it work. Over time, I'd picked up a ton of responsibilities that weren't technically in my job description. Things like maintaining software integrations, organizing shared files, responding to client queries, and fixing little workflow issues before they became big problems. It wasn't glamorous, but it kept everything running. Then came Carl. He was Gary's boss and had just been promoted to company president. Carl was obsessed with cutting costs and boosting efficiency. He started poking around the department, asking how much Gary made, and when Gary refused to take a pay cut, Carl fired him. Just like that, our best manager was gone. A few weeks later, Carl replaced him with Matt, a guy who had maybe half Gary's experience and none of his leadership skills. Matt was younger, cheaper, and completely clueless about how the department actually worked. I knew from day one that things were going to go downhill fast. When Matt took over, I used the opportunity to negotiate a small raise. I knew Carl probably planned to replace me too, but I figured I had a few months before that happened, and I was planning to move out of state anyway. To make things easier for my coworkers after I left, I started creating a detailed manual of all the weird, undocumented tasks I handled. It was slow work, but I figured it'd save everyone a headache later. Matt quickly proved himself to be a terrible manager. He micromanaged every little thing, but completely missed the big picture. One day, he noticed I was spending time doing tasks that weren't directly assigned to me. All those extra things that kept the department running. He told me flat out that I wasn't to do anything unless he told me to. I tried to explain that some of those things were critical. Vendor emails, payroll system updates, data backups, but he cut me off and said, if it's not your job, don't do it. All right then, boss. From that day forward, I did exactly what he said. If something wasn't assigned to me directly, it didn't exist. Vendor invoices piled up. Client emails went unanswered. Our accounting software started glitching because no one was maintaining the integrations I used to handle. I stopped troubleshooting issues. I stopped updating records, and I definitely stopped working on the manual. A few months later, my prediction came true. I was called into a meeting with Carl and Matt and told I was being laid off for budgetary reasons. No warning, no goodbye, just a cold. Your access is revoked effective immediately. I wasn't even allowed to grab my stuff from my desk. Matt made sure to tell me I wasn't to retain any company information or documents. Fine by me. A couple of weeks later, I heard from my old coworkers that things were falling apart fast. Nobody knew how to do half the things I used to handle. Payroll was late, vendors weren't getting paid, and the accounting system was a total mess. Then, out of the blue, Matt called me. He said he'd found a file on the shared drive labeled job manual and processes.zip. It was encrypted. He wanted the password. I told him it was just a draft I'd been working on and that it contained sensitive information, passwords, client data, and process notes. He demanded the password again. I told him, sorry, I don't have it. It's in my files. What I didn't tell him was that he did have it, buried in my old filing cabinet on an unlabeled sticky note inside a random folder. He'd just have to look for it. Of course, even if he did find it, the manual wasn't finished. It had a lot of placeholders, screenshots, and half-written explanations, but I'm sure the huge file size made him think it was a magic fix for everything. 3 months later, I got another update from one of my old coworkers. Apparently, Carl finally fired Matt after realizing how bad things had gotten. The department was in total collapse. Payroll errors, unpaid vendors, client complaints, the works. My remaining coworkers both quit shortly after, taking better offers elsewhere. Carl's been trying to rebuild the accounting department ever since, but word got around. No one wanted to work there. Last I heard, he's been forced to hire outside consultants to handle the workload, and they're charging triple what we used to cost him. And Gary, he's doing just fine at his new company, one that actually appreciates him. Meanwhile, the business that thought it could save money by firing the people who held everything together is still trying to recover from the mess it created.